Hi everyone, and welcome back as I take a look at another selective episode of Blake 7, Season 1, Project Avalon. Well, this is quite a good one actually, Project Avalon. Travis sets a trap. It's a very clever trap, what he sets. What he does, basically, he gets hold of a resistance leader that wants transport off this particular planet. She has been in contact with Blake, and Blake, in return, has agreed to get her off this planet. But Travis is one step ahead because Avalon's resistance group has a traitor in it working for the Federation. So the inevitable happens. As Blake is on his way, he assumes to rescue Avalon, pick her up, so on. Travis intercepts the resistance cell. He takes Avalon prisoner, and in the usual Federation style, the rest of the resistance group is promptly eliminated. Not long after they have been eliminated, Blake turns up. He teleports down with Jenna and discovers the scene of the massacre. And, of course, he surmises this is definitely Federation because they weren't armed, these people. So he's spot on there, definitely. It's typical Federation tactics, that. He comes across a survivor. One survivor. Shepner. He's the only one who survived. And Shepner tells Blake that Avalon has been captured and taken down deep inside the Federation complex. Meanwhile, Travis's plan moves ahead. He gets hold of a labourer, should I say, for a very nasty test to be conducted. And the Supreme Commander is on her way. So before this happens, Travis is having a little chat with Avalon, basically saying, you're going to tell us everything. Everything. And not only that, but you're going to help us to capture the Liberator. Meanwhile, back with Blake, Shepner's talking to Blake, and he says there is possibly one way into the Federation complex. This, of course, requires Villa, so Villa teleports down. Meantime, Supreme Commander Servalan has turned up and endorses Travis's plan. She too thinks it's great, but of course she's not going to go full steam ahead until it's all done and dusted. And she brings with her the one segment of this plan that is vital, a vial of a very deadly pathogen, which is very short term. And the result is they test this pathogen out on this labourer that's taken out a detention cell, and the labourer is killed, and the pathogen is burnt out. So it's very short term. It's very nasty and short term. Meanwhile, Blake, Shepner, and Jenna and Villa are breaking into the Federation complex. And this has all been planned out in methodic detail by Travis. Travis, after his last two incidents with Blake, he's on the ball with this one. This is a well thought out plan. Meanwhile, the Liberator has to make a quick run for it because they've been detected by Federation pursuit ships. So, here we go. As the Liberator outruns the Federation ships and returns to station, all hell breaks loose in the Federation complex. Blake is basically discovered breaking in, but it's all part of the plan. Blake locates what he thinks is Avalon and mounts this rescue attempt to bust her out of this Federation prison. And of course, there's somewhat of a shootout that goes on, and Blake, Avalon, and the rest are all pursued. Now, Blake is shot in the shoulder, and Avalon smack bang in the back. And this is very peculiar. But anyway, at the time, all this action is going on. They're not thinking about anything along those lines. Anyway, they do promptly, eventually escape. Travis is informed that the Liberator has broke orbit and is on its way. So he knows that they have now entered the final part of his plan. Unfortunately for him, Shepner has strong suspicions about this particular Avalon, and it will cost him his life. Meanwhile, on the deck, Blake now talks about being shot in the shoulder, Avalon being shot in the back. It doesn't make sense whatsoever. He examines the Federation gun, and it seems that it has somewhat different ammunition. It's not standard issue, as Avon puts it. It's low bolt discharge, basically a stun gun, just to give you a nasty kick. It doesn't make sense. Then Blake puts the pieces together. They've been duped, and the Federation is after the Liberator. While this is all going on, Gan is helping this Avalon, and she reveals the nasty vial on her. There's a bit of a scuffle, and once they subdue this Avalon, they discover that she is in fact a robot. And Blake now realizes what the whole plan was, and it's very clever, very well thought out plan. And he also says, we got to go back and rescue the real Avalon. And he basically asks Avon, can you reprogram the robot? And Avon says he can do a few things to it. So Travis, being rather smug, saying yes, it's just a matter of time. And then all of a sudden the alarm bells go off, and he is told that the Liberator has returned to orbit and Blake is in the complex. Blake meets Travis and Servalan, basically says, very clever plan, you nearly did it, you nearly pulled it off. And he waves the vial in front of them, and he basically says, hand over the real Avalon to me, because I will be leaving with her. He puts the vial in the robot's hand and basically says the robot would react to certain movement, to certain sound, to certain vocals. And basically the real Avalon is handed over to Blake, and he, with the real Avalon, teleport back up to the Liberator and promptly make their escape. In the meantime, Travis, very dangerously, you could say, attempts to resolve the situation with this vial. The robot drops the vial, but fortunately he catches it. And the Supreme Commander, Servalan, basically says, you're washed up, Travis. Right then, my closing thoughts on this episode. This is one of the better episodes where the Federation make this attempt to get their hands on the Liberator. I think it's probably the best one, to be honest, because there are a few more attempts to get their hands on the Liberator, and they're not as good as this one. Not as good. Anybody spot Glynis Barber as the mutoid? Yes. If you're familiar with Blake 7, yes, that was Sulin in season 4 of Blake 7, but that's obviously pre-Sulin days. Project Avalon is definitely a very good episode. It's very well done. It's a very clever plan which Travis puts into operation, but it does have that minor flaw. Replacing the standard ammunition in the Federation guns. That was clearly a bit of a gamble by Travis, but you can understand why, because he wanted them to rescue the robot Avalon. He wanted them to escape, so the robot Avalon would release the deadly pathogen on the Liberator, wipe the entire crew out, and the Liberator would be up for grabs then. Really good episode, and unfortunately Travis is now out of a job. Yes, even Sutherland has come to the end of the road with him. Or has she? Well, we'll soon discover as we go along. And on that note, everyone, have a great day. See you in due course. Goodbye.